Well, I'm long gone to Saskatchewan, long gone to Saskatchewan.
The views and opinions expressed on the Lang and LeBlanc podcast are solely those of the hosts, producers, and guests of the program. They in no way, shape, or form reflect those of any affiliates the presenters or guests represent.
In Humboldt
and in Saskatoon.
We're back with our second episode of Saskatchewan Saturday Night here on the Lang and LeBlanc podcast.
Oh my God, you forgot to say it's Saturday night, Avery.
It's Saturday night.
There you go.
Saturday night. If you are new to the show, welcome. And for those who have stuck around these entire 2 months, thank you for tuning in. I'm Avery out of Humboldt, Saskatchewan, and we're going to check in with our second half of the operation in Saskatoon. How's it going, Brady?
Oh, that's a nice little spin on Avery.
Yeah.
This has been the weirdest week ever. I think I'm going to get into it a little bit more later on. If people notice, I do sound a little bit clogged up. Developed a little bit of a head cold, but it's not COVID, Avery, so we're good.
Thank God. We'll get into that later on. I think we wanted to talk about the testing process for those who have not been through it yet.
Yeah, well, it was my first time getting tested, so I was I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous. Not just because I may have had COVID, but also for the testing stuff, because I wasn't 100% sure what to expect. The brain tickler didn't hurt as much as I expected, though, so at least there was that.
That's good. Yeah, no, I managed to make a video this week at the golf club here in Humboldt.
I saw that, and I'm a little worried if we go for teams against Marty and Matt. After seeing that, I'm like, well, when he has a good shot, at least I'll know what he's going to say.
There you go.
Yeah, every shot I was like, okay, I wonder what he's going to say this time. Yep, he did it again.
Yeah, so that's what I got up to this week, but we're going to roll right into the show. It's exciting to do this for the second time in as many weeks. So Brady, we're going to recap last episode that we had with Marty and Matt, which was our second meeting with the guys. What was your takeaway from it?
Well, it's always great to have those two guys on. And I felt a little bad for Matt because I think we just kind of really focused on Marty and making him as embarrassed as we possibly could through his Valentine's Day explanations, and then also through his the card game. But that also kind of spun around and became something really cool in itself, which was nice.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see if we can implement that in many different ways, because there's so many different angles you can take with that, right? And with every type of sport there is.
Yeah, exactly. And hats off to those two guys again. We talked, I think, for an hour and a half on the actual podcast, and I think we doubled that plus talking afterwards. So yeah, it was a fun episode to do, and I'm excited for them to come back on in about a month here. So.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing that Marty did was list off the NHL awards. I do believe it was the Hart Trophy, as well as there was one more. I can't recall.
The Conn Smythe. So Conn Smythe is the Conn Smythe Award is given to the MVP of the Stanley Cup playoffs. If anyone didn't know that already, it's one of those ones that people, it doesn't pop up in their heads immediately when it comes to the actual awards, which I think that's what made it so unique and special, is that he could just go off and list off all of them, right?
Yeah, he knew every little bit of history on each player, I guess, whenever he listed them off. And I remember having the list, and it would be funny if he caught himself. He'd be like, oh wait, no, it's the other way around, and he'd correct it, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, he's not only just listing it, but he's correcting himself in every way. And it was just proving his knowledge of the game in every sense. I don't know what Marty did to get that good at that portion of the show, but he must have looked at that list over and over and over again for an extended period of time. And then to ingrain that in your brain for a even longer period of time after doing it is even crazier.
Yeah, exactly. And he said he was rusty at the same time. too, right? So
He didn't
like,
seem too rusty to me.
no, exactly. And when I said that he's told me he's been able to do that before in the past, and I didn't believe him, I don't think anyone should really blame me for not believing him, thinking maybe he's full of poop or whatever. But yeah, it was crazy, and I know I couldn't do it. Couldn't tell you who the Conn Smythe Award winner was last year. The only one that I could tell you for sure was in 2003 when J.S. Jaguar won for the Anaheim Ducks, because he was unbelievable in that playoffs, or not playoff series, but actual full Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Let alone, I can't even remember what I had for supper last night. And even to try remember hockey awards from years prior. Good luck with that, Avery. We'll give her a shot. But obviously, we put Marty in the spotlight last episode. We're going to have to see if we can flip it around to Matt. I guess we're going to have to see if we can get some dirt on the guy.
Yeah, I gotta talk to Aaron for a bit, I think. Aaron and Angie, maybe even Cam Lee. Cam might be able to put in a couple tips for me. So we'll see. I got a month until we get there. So a little bit of prep time.
Nice. Yeah, no, if you do know Matt and you listen to the podcast, feel free to see if you can hit us up, and we'll see if we can ingrain that in the next time we bring him on at the back end of May, which we're actually entering into. It's already May, hey, of 2021.
Yeah, May 1st today. Unreal.
Crazy. It feels like just yesterday COVID arrived.
Yeah, like, March 2020.
Exactly. Well, I think we're going to roll into the next segment of the show. Now, we're circling back to our askSask poll, which we run every single weekend. This segment is a distant cousin of the coldest barn contest that you ran a while back. Hey, Brady.
Oh, yeah.
So we post the poll on our website at langleblancpodcast.com. That is LANGLEBLANCPODCAST.com. Also on our Twitter as well at Lang LeBlanc Live. That is LANGLEBLANCLIVE. How was that?
That's good. I like that. Yeah.
Surprised I didn't stutter through that, but we got through her. We got through her. It's a Saturday and we're ready to roll. So last time we did this, our question was Saskatoon versus Regina. Which city do you prefer? And we're taking a look at that result on our Twitter. 88% of people preferred Saskatoon over Regina.
I'm not shocked. I looked at kind of, well, it didn't get as much traction as I originally hoped. And I don't think it really made it that far down to Regina. It seemed like the people that were liking it and retweeting it were all from Saskatoon.
We're going to introduce the new poll for this weekend. I texted this one to Brady, and we both knew that we had to do this one for the fans of the green and white. Which Mosaic stadium was better, the old stadium or the new stadium?
It's really hard to pick the best one, or I don't know. When it comes down to it, like it's a tough one. It stumped me at least. So I hope it's stumping you guys too. When it comes down to it though, I think old Mosaic, just because of the character, and that's just me. So yeah.
The way you looked at it, like you said, the character, it's a completely different point of view from the new stadium. To put it plainly, it's kind of like getting your first car. Like, it may not be the best set of wheels in town, like Mosaic. It wasn't the best stadium in the CFL, but this car suits you like no other vehicle that you could possibly get, right? You own it for years, you grow attached to it, you have all these great memories with it that are unforgettable. And then maybe you start to make, and then maybe you start to make a bit more money. Maybe you want a new vehicle because the older one might not be as reliable. Not that the old Mosaic wasn't, but then once you get that new car, you got to sell the old car. And you get the new car, it's nice. It's got a bunch of new features that the old car didn't have, like the Bluetooth, the backup camera, and it just looks newer and nicer in general. Yet the new car can never live up to the old one because you had all those great times in the old car. And also you're trying to adapt to the new car. It's completely different than what you regularly knew. Like going around the new Mosaic it's a maze over there, right? Whereas the old Mosaic, it was fairly straightforward, I'd say, in terms as to getting to your seat. Yeah, everyone likes the new car, but you have memories with that old one, right?
Yeah,
Like you did
and
with
the
Mosaic.
memories I think is what puts it over for me.
100%.
Like I can still remember walking up on the east, or was it the east or the west side? Wow, now I'm really double thinking on my own kind of thing here. I think it was the west side, the one where the bleachers were at, and you had the overhang, right?
Yeah.
Because east side was Sunnyside, I believe.
Yeah.
So west end, you're walking up there. All I can remember was like every quarter end or halftime, everyone's out there on like the balcony crushing darts from like a few stories up, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't think that's legal, but we'll let it fly. But yeah, and then also all those weather games, man. Like I've gone to a lot of Rider games throughout my life, but to experience Taylor Field when it's gale force winds or a thunderstorm or a downpour, like thinking back to 2008, or I think 2008, 2007, around that time there was the blackout game against the Eskimos.
Yeah,
I was at that
one.
game, and that was when I knew how much that's when I figured out how much I love the Riders and love football. It was just being in that area, in that game, and seeing what I saw. Basically what had happened was there was huge thunderstorm, lots of thunder, lots of lightning, lots of rain, and a lightning bolt hit close to or part of the stadium and totally blacked out all of Mosaic. So everyone in there, no one knew what was going on. I remember it being so dark, but there were so many people just running to get not just cover, but figure out what was going on afterwards. So what had happened in that instance was a few people that were in and around the stadium that were working started telling people that the game had been canceled, that they weren't coming back. It was basically they'll play the rest of it at some other time. And at this point, the Eskimos were still leading the Riders. And we lucked out, I'll say. We bussed to the game right out of the old Norman View Shopping Center. And we bussed over there. And because of that, the buses were told something different than the other people in the stadium. They were told just to wait there. The game was delayed. They were going to get everything back on. So while we're sitting in that bus, we're listening to for Saskatchewan Rough Rider football on the radio. And basically everyone was talking back and forth. Is it delayed? Is it canceled? And it ended up being delayed. But by the time they figured out when they were going to play the rest of the game, everyone was already gone out of the stadium. So it was really only a handful of people that actually got to experience the end of that game. The weirdest part about it too was that it only ended up being a locally broadcasted end to the game. So I think it was a quarter and a half they still had to play Avery. And the Riders were down, like I was saying before. The Riders ended up coming back. Okay? So they came back, but only the people that were in the stands, which was probably about 2,000 of us, and the people in Regina watching the game actually saw the end of that game. So it was really cool. And it's those little things that really just make you smile when you think of old Taylor Field.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously there's memories that can't be beat like that, like the 2013 Grey Cup, also the iconic playoff victories that we've had throughout the years, the comebacks, even the noise is a little different too, isn't it? Like you get the noise at the new Mosaic, but then you had the old old noise from Mosaic, which they're two completely different things, I find, for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's obviously the way it's built, right?
Mhm.
New Mosaic is kind of in that not it's not a dome. It's not a dome. It's dome ready. So basically it's like an enclosure, right? So that the sound is going to reverb off of everything. But it's weird because not last year, obviously, but 2 years ago, the Riders were playing at home. I think it was the first game of the season, and we had a weather game too, Avery. So it was basically there was a huge thunderstorm that hit the city, and I went to the game last minute. So I bought tickets in the nosebleeds, and it was like another really lucky good thing that happened because you're sitting there, you're watching the game, you're looking down, right, and then all of a sudden you look up a little bit kind of towards Moose Jaw, and you see all of these clouds starting to roll in, and not just the clouds, but like the thunder and the lightning, and then also that the sheet that you see underneath that cloud, which is just a downpour. And you know it's a downpour, and you know it's coming. So I remember sitting up there and just watching that come in. And then I started like tweeting from the top too.
I remember those tweets coming in.
Yeah, I had people from the US that were watching it on ESPN DMing me, and they're like, "When's the game back on?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I'm in the nosebleeds." But like right when that rain hit, everyone was able to run down under, right? So you didn't have to really worry about the weather. But what we did in the nosebleeds, and we weren't alone, we were sitting up there, and basically everyone started leaving, and there was a group of us that just sat out there and watched the storm as it hit the stadium because we were under that overhang. We got to actually watch a thunderstorm in Mosaic Stadium, which was
Talk about a halftime show, hey?
yeah, pretty friggin' cool. They really brought the thunder and lightning. Oh, that's a bad one. My dad jokes have not been on par today, but we'll keep going.
That game did continue, hey? Like they did end up finishing that game, and I think the broadcast still went on TSN, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so. And that was the day I believe that the panel was there as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were there.
So they got to see like the blackout, but like the amount of weird weather games at Taylor Field that I've experienced over the last 20 years of going to Rider games is just, I think that's what pushes it over. And when it comes back to that sound thing, like I remember I was at that final game at Mosaic Stadium, and they blacked out the entire Taylor Field and basically shut off all the lights and put on the Maxtron, just basically a video tribute. The sound after that, I should check in my phone. I should have like videos from it. Maybe I can dub it into this episode of the podcast. But like, man, that I can still feel that sound. I can still remember that sound. It's unreal. And for that reason, I know I hummed and hawed about it at the beginning. 110% my vote's going to Taylor Field.
Yeah, same here. I think I'm going with the old Mosaic. Obviously, that vote will probably change as the newer generation of fans rolls in.
Well, yeah, considering the younger generation won't know what old Mosaic Stadium is. They won't know about the $6 token beers that you had to go buy. They're not going to remember the darts on the overhang. They're not going to remember that kind of thing, which is kind of sad because I feel like that was really the heyday of the CFL, right? We're looking at a game now, Avery, and this is going to be really weird, but every time a league goes through either a delay or a major change, like the game changes too. Yeah. What we're going to see, regardless if it's the CFL, the CXFL, the XFL that comes back, it's not going to be the CFL you remembered. And I'm really sorry for that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're going to see some change and those little things, right? The game's never going to be the same. Like, obviously, everything's always changing, but we're going to see a really different CFL when we come back. Hopefully the Riders are wearing green, though.
Yeah, if they change the color scheme, then I think they're going to upset a lot of fans.
They did that once, though. They did.
Well, didn't
that
they
once.
have like black and burgundy?
Yes. That was back when they were the old Regina Rugby Club, I believe. And then they transferred over to the green. And I believe it was green because of just kind of supply. That's what they had, which is kind of weird, but also really CFL when it comes down to it.
Definitely. All right. I think we're ready to roll into the news segment of the show. We buzzed through some of the news stories that hit the cycle this week to offer our thoughts. So each week we'll pull two stories each and chat about them a little bit. Just more of a rundown on it and an explanation. If there's a story you want us to chat about or something we worked on that you think we need to go into a bit more detail on, just let us know. So did you want to start, Brady, or should I roll on with mine?
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
So one of my big stories this week was prairie harm reduction and the community support that prairie harm reduction was able to get. So this is really interesting and really cool. If we pull it back to when prairie harm reduction first began, what they really wanted was to do the 24/7 thing, right? So to keep a safe consumption site open 24/7 on 19th Street in Saskatchewan. That couldn't be done on the budget that they had. They wanted provincial funding to do this. So this is where it all began with the back and forth with the province and everything. So what they wanted was to expand hours. Well, they didn't get the funding, so they weren't able to expand hours. But then April came, Avery, and 62 businesses or organizations in Saskatoon, they all pitched in, and apparently, we're going to know more about this on Monday, Jason told me the other day, but there is a chance that these hours are going to expand regardless of provincial funding. It would be led by the community, which is insane to even think about.
That is pretty crazy. A community, I guess, endorsed increasement of hours is pretty unreal. It shows how much the community of Saskatoon in this entire province gets behind PHR. And I don't think that any other community or province or anything else can offer this type of support to a nonprofit organization. Absolutely unreal.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not going to know the actual final tally until Monday of how much they raised in the entirety of April. But like I was told they were hoping to get 5,000 donuts at Dark Side sold. So that would be $5,000 right there. We had almost 11,000, which I wrote in the story from Broadway Theater with their popcorn. We kind of mentioned that a little bit last Saskatchewan Saturday night. And then also I spoke to a realtor who is donating 5% of all of his new builds, sales. There's one other thing, or was it just new builds and sales? Yeah, I think it was just new builds and sales. Basically 5% of his commission or what he's taking home is going to prairie harm reduction. So I asked him and he said that works out to be about $200 to $600 every time he makes a sale. So even that's crazy. And then also you see on Twitter and Facebook, if it's someone's birthday, a lot of people in Saskatoon are just telling people to donate to prairie harm reduction, which is also getting crazy traction. So hats off to everyone down there. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens on Monday for sure.
Yeah, definitely. In other news, COVID guidelines have been kind of altered for graduations, sporting practices, as well as restaurants. For graduations, in-person graduations are allowed to be held outdoors and are limited to 30 guests plus 5 teachers or support staff. Also, graduations can be held virtually with a maximum of 30 students attending in person, with all guests attending virtually. That's a pretty interesting way to go about it, hey?
Yes, I think so. When it comes down to it, though, some of those smaller towns, my grad class, I only had 28 kids. That would have worked perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's exactly as much as I think I had. I can't recall exactly. Also for sports and performing arts, the province is also removing the age limits on group training and conditioning. This will allow teams and individual athletes aged 19 years or older to train in groups of 8 plus one or two coaches involved there. And physical distancing is still in place and so on and so forth. I have started to see this around Humboldt. There is a dance club on the same street as Bolt FM, and they were in the intersection. They had the intersection blocked off, and they were dancing out there, which is pretty cool to see. And I understand that some football teams are getting out on the field a little bit, getting ready for a possible fall season when it comes to high school football there. And for restaurants, the province also made changes to spacing and barrier requirements at restaurants. Not much really changed there. They still have the distancing between tables and stuff. Yeah, we're slowly but surely moving back in the right direction here. And we're approaching that 400,000 vaccinated mark, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, we hit that. We hit
Did
that the other day. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I know that because I wrote it. Well, I wrote something on it at least. But yeah, I think we're at 430,000 around there.
Nice.
So things are looking good. I'm excited to see that number continue to fall when it comes to those vaccinations. But yeah, we'll see how things keep rolling out as we continue on. Like you said, it's already May.
Yeah, we're almost halfway there. Oh. All right, what else do you got, Brady? Oh. Sorry,
you lost me there. I think my finger pressed the wrong button or something. Also something that I worked on this week. There was a lot on freedom rallies. Obviously, we saw the freedom rally in Saskatoon roll out on Saturday, the one that was kind of geared to children. But basically the legalities around it. So it was a lot of not hard thinking, but a lot of kind of going back and forth with the law, right? And I thought that was really interesting to kind of take a look at when it came down to it, just due to the fact that there were so many questions about it. I know a lot of people asked me, why doesn't everyone that shows up to a freedom rally get a ticket? So I asked it at least. You guys ask me, maybe sometimes I'll ask them. But yeah, basically just a rundown on all that and taking a look at how much basically if these tickets would hold up in a court of law, that sort of thing. So yeah, it was really interesting because we're at a time in the world where there's a lot of new happening. So when there's new that is happening, a lot of different systems, including the justice system, have to change a little bit. So yeah, I think at least those types of stories are really interesting when it comes to my standpoint, and I hope other people's standpoints. They read it, so at least that's good. But yeah, it was a very interesting week. But yeah, do you have anything else, Avery, or anything to add on this one?
I got one more story for our news segment. CAA released the top 10 worst roads in the province.
Woohoo! Here we go.
All right, so we're going to list them off from 1 to 10. Number 1, Highway 4 in Dorantosh, going through Dorantosh. The second one, 8th Avenue North in Regina. Number 3, Highway 9 through Hudson Bay. That one was ranked 5th back in 2018, so it's moving up the list. 52nd Street East in Saskatoon. Number 5, Highway 340 through Hafford. Number 6, Grant Drive in Regina. Number 7, Highway 33 through Regina. Number 8, Highway 13 through Shaunavon. Number 9, 20th Street West Saskatoon. And then finally, number 10, the three-way tie at Highway 35 in Weyburn, Highway 3 at Hudson Bay, and Highway 9 at Kenora. And it turns out 50% of the roadways in this list are either in Regina or Saskatoon.
You know, I noticed that. And I think it was kind of interesting because obviously this past year, we haven't been on the road as much, obviously, right? So when it comes to people voting, I'm guessing a lot of people that voted in Saskatoon and Regina kind of forgot about all the crappy roads rurally and just kind of focused in kind of an urban setting. But at the same time, maybe we needed that a little bit. We all know that there are crappy roads rurally and there are crappy roads in an urban setting. But, you know, at least we're getting a little bit of both this year, because usually this list is a lot more rural. When it comes more into highways and that sort of thing, I thought it was kind of interesting this year that they kind of took it to a different level and looked at it in a different way, right?
Yeah, definitely. They definitely regionalized it to more the urban areas. I guess you personally, Brady, what's the worst highway or road you've ever been on throughout your lifetime? I mean, there's probably a lot, but what one sticks out to you?
I can't remember. 35? Is that what the one down to Weyburn kind of area, I believe?
Yeah,
By
the
Indian
three-way
Head?
tie. Yeah.
Man, that one sucked growing up. I played a lot of sports down in that area. A lot of those small towns were also in the leagues that were either in Fort Capel or in Balcarres. But yeah, basically, I traveled that a lot for either hockey, baseball, school sports, student leadership kind of stuff. Like, it was just one of those roads, and couldn't nap on it for sure, Avery. Just a lot of potholes and just some rough sledding. And I really hope that I got that name right. I should check. You tell me what your worst road ever driving down is.
Okay, so it's got to be a tie. Highway 2 used to be pretty bad. They have paved it since, so I can't really complain about that. That one was pretty bad. Asphalt was torn up off the road. It was layered with gravel at some portions. But the worst current road that I can say right now, especially around Humboldt, Highway 20 North, heading through Middle Lake, and even further north. The further north you go, the worse the highway gets. It eventually turns to gravel, and then from gravel it goes back to asphalt. And asphalt, it's so worn down, you can only fit one vehicle on there. Like, it's a one-lane road, and it is so torn up and so potholed that you have to go 60 or slower on that road. There is no way you're cheating the system going 80 or 90. You have got to get down to 60, or else you are losing your oil pan, busting an axle, breaking a wheel bearing. I don't know what the heck else you could do on that highway, but it's pretty bad.
We had one kind of like that. So in the valley, by LeBlanc, I believe it was coined Wide Awake Road.
Lives up to its name, then, I assume.
Yeah. Just straight up, like the whole way up the hill kind of deal. And then once you finally get up kind of to the top of the hill, it's like, okay, great. It's going to stop a little bit because we've beat the incline. Nope. A few more kilometers, and maybe on a good day when it hasn't rained very often or very much, hopefully it's better. But yeah, that road sucked too.
Suspensions take a beating in this province, but they power through. All right, Brady, anything else for you to add?
I think we're good. I believe I got Highway 35 correct with my quick typing on the other end here. So
yes, I think I've ridden on that highway a few times, and it is very narrow. But yeah, let's move on to the next segment. So this is the story time segment. The time where we tell our life stories, our life experiences. We got a couple stories. Brady, let's start off with your testing experience.
Okay, yeah, here we go. So yeah, this week felt kind of crappy. And I was very responsible in that, and I went and got tested. Usually around this time of year, annually, I get a cold. But this one just kind of felt a little bit different, not different in a really bad way or a good way. It just felt different. And maybe that could be just anxiety from living in a pandemic for over a year. But basically, full-blown symptoms, right? Head cold, so headaches, coughing, nose running, that sort of thing. And yeah, I went and got tested. So obviously we've been talking a lot about COVID testing, but I somehow came out unscathed. I never had to get a COVID test. Well, what month is it? It's May now. So March, April, May, so that's almost what?
You're
15
in a
months?
bit?
15
You're in a
months?
bit?
Yeah. But yeah, it was different. We rolled into the Saskatchewan one, and they obviously they take your name, that kind of thing. There's a little bit of a lineup there. When we got there the other day, it was very short, which was really nice. But at the same time, that whole way in, I'm sitting there like, I've talked to a lot of people and they all complain about how much that darn brain tickler hurts, right? And I've heard it from a lot of people. Like, it's just, oh yeah, I feel it for a few days. Like, it still hurts, and I got it 2 weeks ago, kind of thing. I'm like, I don't know, like, and I was thinking about it for so long, Avery, and we're in there, and I'm talking to my girlfriend, and I'm like, still a little nervous about this whole, like, up the nose sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it okay if you go first? She's like, yeah, because kind of a wuss when it comes down to it. Like, you
Don't
be
like
the
the
tough
doctors.
one.
Don't
You
like
be
the
tough
doctors
one.
poking
It's
at
your
you.
second one. So, show me how it's done. You sit there and don't move. Hopefully don't cry. But anyways, so she's like, yep, sure, whatever. I'll go first, whatever works. So sitting there waiting, and it's like they take your information and then they leave. So you're sitting there like looking out your window. Oh, are they here yet? Are they here yet? You're seeing them walk up and down the lines, doing everything. So I'm just like, okay, they're gonna go to her window first. We're fine. We're gonna go to her window first. And all of a sudden, I hear the sound beside me. And it's one of the workers there getting ready to, put it in my nose. And I'm like, oh crap. Okay. I guess this is happening. And I honestly for like a half second went, can you do her first?
Yeah.
But I thought about it and I'm like, hey, you're the dude. You're supposed to be tough. Just be tough, Brady.
Power through.
So they're like, oh yeah, put your head back like this. Da, 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 da. I'm sitting there like, ooh, ooh. And the guy counted like up to 5, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I swear that was like the longest 5 seconds ever. Just rolling around like, oh man. But it didn't hurt as bad as I thought. I'm sorry for being scared to. Well, I apologized to my girlfriend afterwards. She thought it was hilarious. But yeah, it's one of those things, right? It's not as bad as you initially would expect, but it's definitely not comfortable. And
for our video announcers, how long would you say?
For a what?
For the swab that they stick up your nostril. How long is it?
Well, our heads are only like that deep. So yeah. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I like how I just measured out my face. Like, this is the area in which I felt it go in as far as I thought it was going. And I don't know, Avery. I closed my eyes. Just one eye open, looking at your nose or something. Oh boy.
Well, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I've heard stories of it hurting, not hurting. You hear two different sides of it. Did you have any after effects after it of any kind?
As in, like, how my face felt?
Yeah, like you said that some people felt, I guess, delayed pain afterwards.
You could still feel it. Like, obviously, it was weird too. At the same time, you got to remember, I was still sick.
Yeah,
it came down to it. So, yeah, it was one of those things. I couldn't really 110% tell if that's what made me feel like crap or if it was just the head cold. So yeah.
So I guess the process of you getting up, going to get tested, and then getting back home, how long of a process was that? Like an hour, a little less?
Yeah, a little bit over an hour. The wait times were slow, and I think I looked down. I think it took 50 minutes, and the line wasn't long, man. Like probably about 10 cars deep, maybe. I think when we first rolled in, but then there's two waiting areas, right? So there's the line, and then there's the waiting area inside. So in theory, 60, probably about 30 vehicles altogether. But yeah, it didn't take long.
That's good. Well, we're glad that you don't have the vid, bud. And
yes, I'm very happy.
Yeah, you got to be. I think everyone else that has tested negative throughout this process is pretty happy. Well, we're going to roll into our fifth and final segment of the show. Considering that we have been a podcast for 2 months now, 2 full months, we're going to take a look back at some of the interviews that we've done and some of the great moments that we've had. More specifically, right now, we're going to focus on our favorite interviews. Brady, I guess, who are your top 3 that we've spoken to?
Top 3. Oof. It's hard to put them like that, Avery.
I guess
I love all of them equally. Yeah. No, when it comes to like favorite, that first one with Marty and Matt was real cool. I'm not putting them as number 1. I'm just gonna give you 3 that I really, really like because I love all of them, but you know. So another one I really enjoyed was Jason's, obviously. Getting to see kind of all layers and all sides of that man's life was incredible. And of course, you can't forget where you came from. So I'm gonna have to say Zach. Zach was the first interview we did, and we did it. I was in my basement. You were where you are right now. Zach was obviously in his home, and all 3 of us were like, okay, this podcast is a new thing. Zach was solidified as that first interview a long time ago. So basically we had everything in line, but it was the little things, right? The first couple episodes we recorded on a totally different system. Like, when it comes down to it, if we knew back then, or if we knew what we know now back then, man, those first few episodes, totally different. But that one with Zach, I don't know if it was, I think that was one of the ones where my audio was going through my Beats headphones. So the audio was not very good, but like, that's an interview I hope to listen to in like a year to 5 years from now and be like, that's cool, man, we've come a long ways.
And just reminisce in that moment, I guess. Yeah, no, you mentioned the audio. It was funny. I wrote a blog on discoverhumboldt.com this week, and I was kind of looking for an audio segment that I could throw into the blog, just us introducing ourselves. And I went to one of our first episodes and I listened to it, and like when we were first listening, I didn't really notice it, but like after listening to these more recent episodes and then listening to it now, I was like, holy smokes, yeah, Brady has definitely upgraded his microphone.
Yeah. Look at, see, a microphone, a good one. Yeah. Well, we were all learning, right? And I think these first couple months, everything was a little bit of learning for both of us. We've said this in the past that we're not going to say we think that we're great. We're not going to say we think that we're the best. We're not going to say we think we're crappy. We're going to be honest with you and say maybe this episode wasn't the best one that we put out, but at the same time, hope you enjoy it. I hope there was a few moments in there where you smiled, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's been crazy. This is our 12th episode, I believe, altogether. Number 12, Jerome McGinley, greatest hockey player ever to lace up the skates. Deal. But yeah, we've come such a long ways in these 2 months. And now that we have this Saskatchewan Saturday night thing going on, and then we also have the regular interviews from day to day, or not day to day, but week to week, that we're still going to be putting on. It's going to be really cool and really interesting as we move through here. And also, I've got a week off in a few weeks, so I'm hoping to be able to start to bank some interviews. So we're not working so darn hard every week, Avery. So that'll be interesting too. We'll see what happens. I'm very excited to just watch this podcast grow. So yeah, I'm glad everyone's along for the ride too.
Yeah, no, we really enjoy interacting with the people that have hit us up so far, and we're doing this for the people that are listening, and obviously ourselves to enjoy. That's what this is. This is us having fun talking to people, enjoying our time off, and kind of building up our I guess reputation in a sense.
We're a brand.
Get the brand going.
We're a brand. We're a friggin' brand. I shouldn't go too far close to the mic. There's my nose. We've been blowing it a lot lately, so yeah. Not
Can't
fun.
get the
Sorry
can't
about
get
that
this.
for people watching. Really sorry. It's been a week.
It was funny last episode it was funny your guys' camera views were pretty darn good. Like you guys were spaced out pretty good. And then there's me. My camera's like right on my laptop up here, and it zooms in a lot. So I got to get a webcam that kind of gets a wider view so that I'm not my entire face is not
there's
cut
some
off.
settings. I'll show you some settings later on.
Okay.
But yeah, you were very much like, I'll show you. Like first time zoomer kind of thing right here. Like, oh,
Exactly
hello
like
there.
that. Yeah.
And then there was
Forehead
at one point when Marty started going hard and you just kind of went, screw this. He's gonna get it right.
Yeah, I was like this. Yeah. I noticed that. I was like, I should probably be more aware of what I'm doing, especially since we started the video segments of the podcast.
My God, those people that are listening on audio right now, they're like, what are these guys doing?
I hope everyone's liked the video segments that we've started so far too. If you have any thoughts to share about it, let us know. Those have been really interesting. I really liked what we did with Matt and Marty last week. And yeah, it was different. And I know that it makes things easier for you on the video side in terms of editing too. Hey,
makes it a little bit quicker. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Okay. What else do we want to see for the podcast in the foreseeable future? We have progressed the podcast a lot over the last couple of months, to the point where we're kind of solidifying, I guess, our foundation in terms as to what we want week by week. But obviously when a pandemic is over, we wanted to talk about going out into communities too. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would be really interesting. And this is all based on growth. If we're getting 10 downloads an episode, we're not going to head up to a bar in Nacum and try and record a podcast kind of deal. So like, I don't know how else to explain that. But I think I would be really interested, Avery, really interested to get apparel flying out. That's been something that has been on my mind definitely through this. I'm also sorry if you can hear Cooper whining in the background. I don't know what's going on with him, but he isn't happy.
Midlife crisis for Coop.
Yes. Oh, I think he's good now.
Eyes are covered.
We're good.
Nice.
But yeah, apparel would be awesome. I really want a coffee cup. I really want a
coffee cup. That's
definitely want a hat.
I can't wait for the t-shirt. That's the one I'm excited for.
And we could have fun with it too.
Yeah.
Like how's it going today? Right? Kind of stuff. Like we can have fun with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And that'll be one way you can support the podcast. But yeah, I really enjoy being able to go on this kind of oh, did you get a phone call?
No, I was trying to get our TikTok ready because I was getting ready to announce that.
There you go. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens, and really excited to see kind of the connections we make along the way and how this can continue to snowball and be more and more interesting and more fun, Avery.
Yeah, definitely. We're really excited for month 3 of the podcast. And something that we we did new this week. Brady fired it up yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But I kind of spoiled this with my volume. I didn't shut my phone off. Anyway, we made a
Avery.
TikTok. We made a TikTok. Lang LeBlanc podcasts. LANGLEBLANC podcast PODCAST.
Before you go anywhere else with this, everyone, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, right? TikTok, easy to go viral on.
It really is. You got raw exposure to everyone, right?
Yeah.
It's not just your followers.
I see people with like 12 views on their stuff, and I'm like, we put one up yesterday. Well, I put one up yesterday, and I thought it was the stupidest thing ever.
It looked really funny. I was
like, you know what? We've been talking about this a lot on the podcast. Watering my grass.
Yep.
What if I make a TikTok of just friggin' watering the grass?
And that big tree in the backyard too.
Yeah. People loved it. What the? Why? How? What the heck? Like 100 likes on it.
Yeah, it did pretty good. And then we also posted the Marty clip on there too. But yeah, if you want to follow us on TikTok, give us a follow. We're hoping to get more ingrained on there.
Will you make TikTok dances?
Will I make TikTok dances?
Will you? I can't dance, so will you?
I'd have to get a few in me, Brady, before I start doing that, honestly.
Well, when in Rome.
When in Rome.
Yeah, doing the savage dance. Just living life, eh?
I'm a savage. I don't know the rest of the song, but that's okay. Yeah. Check us out on TikTok and all our other socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever else. If you want to become a subscriber of the podcast, you can hit us up on our website as well at langleblancpodcast.com. That is once again LANGLEBLANCPODCAST. I'm going a little quick here, hey, with those, but yeah, no, that's all good. Well,
see,
Brady,
if they're on video, Avery, you got to remember this. If they're on video, they can definitely see up here and down there.
Yeah,
are not just our names, but also our podcast name and also the address to our website.
Yes.
All
right. Well, Brady, do we have anything else to add in regards to our 2-month anniversary of the pod?
Thank you to the listener. Like, you guys are the ones that keep us going. We really hope that you're enjoying what you're hearing. And if you're not enjoying what you're hearing and something can be fixed, reach out to us and let us know. But yeah, other than that, it seems like we kind of got our footing. So now we just have to put our heads down and hit the A gap, right? That's the football term.
Yeah, that's the football term, right up the middle between the center and the guard.
Okay. Yeah.
We're gonna have to bring that up to our next guest.
Right by Dan Clark and Brendan Labatt. Did I get that one correct?
Yeah. Is Dan Clark's the center, right?
Dan Clark's the center, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be the A gap.
Yeah. And yes. There you go. You talk about that. This is your guest, Avery. Tell us what we got going on.
Should we tee it up or should we leave it as a surprise?
No surprise. Give it to the people.
No
It's
surprise.
Saturday night. Woo!
All right. So next week, we're bringing on a very special guest. I've been in talks with him for a little bit to get him on. He is from Humboldt, Saskatchewan, played in the Canadian Football League for many years, and now he is taking up the coaching career, and he actually brings out his camp to Humboldt each and every year. Obviously, over the last couple of years, it hasn't been able to happen because of COVID. But we're gonna have a talk with him about his camp, his career, and what the game of football is like for him. Kelly Bates is who we're bringing on. He was an offensive lineman for the BC Lions for many years, also joined the Riders for a short period of time, as well as the Edmonton Eskimos. But really excited to bring this guy on. I've talked with him for the last couple of years whenever his camp comes to Humboldt. And we're going to have fun with the guy on Monday.
Yeah, we are. And let's be real. Considering we're going to be recording on Monday, and it's with someone from a league that may have an announcement within that time frame, I'm going to feel like Monday we might get some Canadian Football League news, just strictly due to the fact that apparently the decision makers are Lang and LeBlanc podcast fans.
It seems that like it always lines up whenever we bring a specific guest on. Like last week, it lined up with Maddie and Marty when the SJHL announced that they were making plans for a season. We try to line up our news headlines, but sometimes luck rolls our way and it just works out.
It's called organics. It just happens. We get lucky. It happens.
It does happen. But yeah, we will see you guys next week with
One more
Bates.
thing, Avery. Just wanted to add this in. My dad he didn't want me to add this in, but he gave me the information to add this in. So now that we're doing this whole video thing, right? I'm able to get a little bit more personal when it comes to the backdrop kind of thing. So obviously you see a Balcarres Bronx jersey right there. You saw that earlier last week as well. Also, I always get questions about this because this is also my Zoom for work kind of background.
The deer?
The deer.
The deer.
It was bought at Marshall's in Saskatchewan.
Nice.
Yes.
It's a good purchase.
Yes, it was bought at Marshall's. It is. There's nothing special about it. We just thought it looked cool, and we bought it. But I'm getting a lot of questions about that, and a lot of people have just randomly asked, "Why do you got a deer back there?" And I'm like, for no reason at all. Just really thought it looked cool, and the other one's matching. Maybe I'll show you guys that in another episode. I can't give everything away. But when it comes to the Balcarres Bronx, I'm originally from Balcarres. I grew to love hockey watching senior hockey. So the first episode I had a Balcarres Bronx jersey. That one was a real retro. That one was going way back. And I asked my dad, and a couple shout outs. John Fishley used to wear the jersey that was behind me. And then also the jersey that you see behind me today was Randy Chico Norton's. So basically, shout out to Saskatchewan. Shout out to Balcarres and the Balcarres Bronx. I do miss senior hockey, and hopefully we get senior hockey this year, Avery. But that's a little bit more about the explanations as to why I'm putting jerseys randomly in the background.
Nice. And I just got the 13th man flag behind me.
You got to work a little bit on yours.
I think I got to shift that over and get something else on the other side or something along those lines.
Like something like that. Just we got to work on it because you know what? For now, we're looking pretty good. I kind of sit over here so you guys can kind of see up there. But yeah, it is what it is, Avery.
All right. Well, Brady, do we have anything else to add before we wrap up the second episode of Saskatchewan Saturday Nights?
Absolutely not. Tweet us with whatever you're doing on this Saskatchewan Saturday night. I will too. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing and where I'm going to be heading right after we get this episode up. So enjoy a tweet from my backyard as we have another bonfire for the second night in a row. It's loving the summer now, Avery.
It is summer. I hung out on my patio yesterday and watched the grass grow again. Very exciting stuff.
Watch the grass grow again. Well,
grew another millimeter.
Here, so the grass actually freaking grows.
And it's green now, which makes it look even better.
Good.
Not brown.
Yeah. At least there's that, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, if you want to listen to us, check us out at our website at Lang LeBlanc Podcast. That is LangLeblancPodcast.com. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts. I didn't want to go into depth because I didn't know the other ones that we're on. There's so many platforms that we're on nowadays.
Just start making fake ones.
just
head here for it.
Yeah,
random
exactly.
Buzzwords put together. And you're just like, yeah, that sounds like it would be a platform for podcasting.
Seems legit. Maybe we could sneak one in there every week, see if someone actually types it into like Apple the App Store or something like that, see if they can download it. Anyway, that's where you can find us. Also, we got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, now TikTok. That is Lang LeBlanc Live. So that's for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That is LangLeBlancLive. And the TikTok is Lang LeBlanc Podcast. Same thing as the website. And then you've also got our Gmail. Can't forget about the Gmail, Brady. It is Lang LeBlanc Live as well at gmail.com. So feel free to hit us up there. And yeah, it was a fun second episode of Saskatchewan Saturday Nights.
Yes, it was. And I spoke about this a little bit earlier in the podcast, but if you are out having a good time in Saskatchewan tonight, shoot us a tweet, send us a picture of what you're doing. And so if I'm in Saskatoon, it's Saskatoon Saturday night. If Avery's in Humboldt, it's Humboldt Saturday night. If I was at home, it's Balcarres Saturday night. Just tweet us. Let's see where this goes. Let's try and make something cool.
Yeah. Also, our hashtag for Saskatchewan Saturday night is SSN.
We're gonna go SKSN. Actually, I was gonna mention that to you just because there's a lot of SSNs out there. Yeah. I think we're just gonna go with SKSN from now on.
That does make sense.
Yeah, our official hashtag
SKSN. All right. Brady, it was a fun weekend. We're ready to wrap up episode 2. Thank you for tuning in if you've made it this far. And if you are new, continue to listen to us. We've got more on the way for you. And thanks for listening. We will see you next week along with Kelly Bates.
Later.
The views and opinions expressed on the Lang and LeBlanc podcast are solely those of the hosts, producers, and guests of the program. They in no way, shape, or form reflect those of any affiliates the presenters or guests represent.